Roger, I'm ready.
All right, so we are live. Let me see if this works for you. I'm going to send it to you in Discord.
All right, opening now. It appears to be open. All right, opening now.
David.
All right, opening now. Yo, I'm here.
All right. All right, you can still hear me?
Yep, roger that. It sounds good.
Let me post a message in the chat. Huh? I'll give it a couple minutes, just let people filter in.
Yeah, no doubt. Got a few people already joined in.
All right, give me just a moment because I'm having an issue with seeing the David, you can still hear me?
Oh, yes, I can.
Awesome, perfect. All right. Looks like we have 8 people watching. If you guys want to type something in chat just so we can know that everyone can hear us all right. Hey Thomas, how you doing? We're going to give everybody just a couple of minutes to filter in here. And while they filter in, you can see here on the, hey Peter, how you doing? You can see the the recent ALQO light paper page. And we're gonna, David and I went through everyone's questions and noted a few of the ones in Discord that we definitely want to get to. Awesome. Hey, David, why don't you chime in just so they can make sure they can hear you all right?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. Hope you're having fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
We haven't really started yet.
Yeah, all good. Everyone can hear David all right?
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
Awesome. All right, so hey
Hey,
Marcus, how
Marcus.
are you? The guy, how are you doing? Welcome. Awesome. All good. All right, we've been going for about 3 minutes now. I'm going to give it hey Andrew. Everyone, Andrew is our lead designer for the Eons app and a lot of the cool things we have going on in the background. Happy to see him drop in. Marcus got the dean's list. What's up, Kenny? Gonna give it just another minute, let a few more people filter in so we know, so we have as many community members as possible. David, let's start off with just jumping right in, really. Have a good start, but the team's too far marketing community. Yes, sir. Hey, Derek, how you doing? Good to see some familiar faces in here. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. And yeah, I mean, the purpose of this AMA is, we've been a little bit silent since the launch of Bitfinian. And from a technical standpoint, the launch went great. We have a really solid exchange offering. Obviously, if you're part of the community, you've noticed we've had we're a little bit slow in getting adoption. Obviously, there's a lot of centralized exchanges. I think that Bitfinian offers a nice competitive advantage still, simply in terms of the stability of the platform, the user experience, the user interface. We have some work to do on uh, liquidity still, and pairs, and obviously gaining users. And part of the purpose for the ALQO pivot, or evolution, I guess, if you would rather use that word, for the DEFS, or Decentralized Ecosystem for Financial Services, which we just released with the new ALQO Light paper, is to bring more adoption uh, to ALQO, um, and also to Bitfinian, as well as introduce a new product, which we're going to kind of keep close to the chest for now. We talked a little bit about it in the light paper, but that product being Eons, and that's going to be kind of our ace up our sleeves, if you will. We'll have more information as we get closer to showcasing a prototype of that product over the next probably 60 within the next 60 days, because that product actually interacts a lot with the financial services industry, i.e. banking. There's a lot of regulatory stuff that we've had to go through, and I don't want to jump the gun before we have all of that dialed in 100%. David, maybe you want to take the first question, because I think it has to do with some of the services and products. Trader Travis was asking about. His question was, what services are actually being built for the ALQO DEFS system? Any clones of Uniswap, Urine Compound, Aave, Synthetics? Maybe you want to talk a little bit about the products and services.
Yeah, sure. So we're not really delving into specifics on products, but there's two parts to it. So the first part for the products is access, right? We want to provide, via the interoperability of Substrate and its relay chains, access to everything that's already currently on the market. So if you can use your ETH tokens directly from the new ALQO wallet, we are providing a bridge where that user can use already, anything on Uniswap, anything that uses an ETH token or EOS token or whatever bridges that we integrate with. You can access it directly from our platform. And then the second part is obviously us making our own stuff. We've got a few ideas. Some of them I think are pretty good. They're not finished yet. Also, we don't want all of our ideas stolen. So we're not going to, I can't really talk specifically about them, but we are going to build our own things. We see some issues that we want to solve directly. We see issues others have that we want to solve for them. It's all dependent though on us moving the infrastructure over into a platform that we can, which is the whole purpose of Substrate, and connecting to Polkadot and X chains and those relay chains.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that the existing chain that we operate on, it's a PIVX fork. There's limited functionality there. We don't have the ability to build these types of products on it, right? That's what you have in terms of the framework that Ethereum offers, and Substrate and Polkadot offer it in a different packaging. Maybe you want to talk a little bit more about the structure they offer, how it's quicker to market for some of these things, and the framework versus Ethereum, and why we chose Substrate and Polkadot.
Yeah, so it's all about the future, right? Interoperability gives us the ability to continuously have access to anything that comes out in the future, right? So as these relay chains build the interoperability, which is what Polkadot is, right? They do synthetic acids or direct node, control access to these other chains. So even if you keep it all synthetic, even if it's all wrapped Bitcoin, wrapped ETH tokens, you can still send it to a normal wallet on the other side. So the whole point of like being future ready and switching to Substrate is all mixed in there, right? So we want whatever comes out in the future, us to be able to operate with it. And then the other nice thing about Substrate is that they've built all this stuff for us, right? My job as the lead developer is no longer, reinventing the wheel and writing all the code from scratch, or even forking something and then just changing it and making it our own. They've built this infrastructure for us where I get to pick and choose what we need and what we want. And as far as no forking, they also have the option to do live updates. So it's like, there's no more swaps in the future, because we can update the chain directly without having to go through the whole process that we're going to have to go through in this next evolution.
Yeah, I think it's important to differentiate it. We will have a swap from our current chain to the Substrate Polkadot based chain, but once we migrate to that new Polkadot substrate base, with the technology you're talking about that Substrate has developed, we will no longer have to create a swap. There won't be forks. Additionally, there's a lot of security features that are built in, that the parity technologies of the company that develops Substrate focuses on because this is a framework like you would use to build a website or something like that. You have a lot of built-in controls that don't exist maybe on Ethereum or on another framework or chain. So we have just we're able to better focus our energy and our resources on building actual products, not building the infrastructure to support them. And the benefit of that for us is that our focus is now becoming on products and revenue generation, right? We're moving away from focusing on building tech and and building products so that we can bring value proposition into the Alco ecosystem and not just on hype based technology development, which has kind of been the modus operandi, right, in the past for a lot of forked coins or just coins in general that may have launched in like 2017 to 2018. Um, so let's move on to another question here. Uh, let's see. Trader Travis actually asked 4 or 5 really great questions. We're going to take another one, I think. David, you wanted to talk about um, well, I think you actually covered most of his questions in there. Travis asked
I
about,
jumped around a bunch.
yeah, I mean, and that's to be expected. It's just kind of like a free flowing form for an AMA. I want to get some more questions from the chat too. I don't want this just to be us reading back. So guys, if you're in the chat and you want to ask questions, please, drop them in the chat
Yeah.
on YouTube.
So one we just got on there was, so it is Polkadot. Like, we want to integrate with Polkadot, but we are going to be a substrate parachain, which means anything that there are other relay chains besides Dot being built for that, and we want access to those as well. And it could, as this progresses, I mean, be dozens of relay chains. I mean, who knows? It could be relays to specific products instead of to controlling another chain. So yes, we want to be in the Polkadot ecosystem, but it is not the be all end all of our evolution into Substrate.
So David, maybe for the less technically inclined people that might be in the chat or just wondering how relay chains or the substrate, and well, more so the Polkadot relay into these other chains like Bitcoin and Ethereum, how does that bring value to what we're building? How can an ALQO holder be excited about that?
Yeah, so the biggest part is the custody of control, right? The user custody. When we have a wallet that you can control almost any crypto asset, and regardless of what chain it's on, that empowers the user not only to hold that safely, but also to use it safely. A good example is MetaMask, right? MetaMask has all those ETH tokens, and people are going crazy using that in Uniswap. But what if it was more than just ETH tokens? What if it was, real Bitcoin and real Dash and anything, Ripple, anything? So that's the power to it. It's just the broadened control of your assets all in one place.
Awesome. All right, let's see. Let's ask another, or let's answer another question from the chat. So, what are we going to do to bring liquidity? Tripley
Mm.
Monkey asks, and Tripley Monkey, liquidity to which? One of the new products in the ALQO ecosystem that we're building or to Bitfinian the exchange? And I'll come back to that question if you drop your answer in the chat. Let's see. Star Tracker asks, he's been out of the loop for a while. Is this proposed new system something like the Ethereum tokens? So Substrate and Polkadot are an Ethereum um, competitor, I guess, in the purest sense of uh, terms, really. It does something a little bit different here and there than what Ethereum does. I'll let David talk about that if he wants to, but we will be moving from a PIVX based coin to a Substrate slash Polkadot token. However, we will still have our own chain within that framework.
Yeah, so
Um,
we're gonna be a parachain. So it's a little bit stronger than a token. Like if we were switching to Ethereum, we would just be a token, and we would be beholden to the changes and the infrastructure of Ethereum. Moving to Substrate, we have the option to launch our own parachain. This means we control our base code. We control any changes and who we want to work with and how we want to work with them, as opposed to being at the mercy of a huge company. So we're a lot more empowered choosing Substrate than we would be choosing Ethereum. But as far as the capabilities, right? Any contract work, any data storage, anything that ETH's doing now, Substrate's got an option for that. One of the palettes, it's called Ink. Pretty much directly, you can copy and paste the ERC contracts directly into and just run them pretty much natively. I mean, minimal changes. So it's like we have all the benefits of the Ethereum network, but we also maintain our own control.
right. And I don't think that can be understated. Um, Things like setting gas fees, um, gas fees, tokenomics, um, just more control, governance.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
and the detailed white paper that David and I are working on, and we have pinged some really some great leading minds in the space that we've been, brought into our network or have been, discussing what we want to do with. We'll be contributing to the white paper as well. Triply Monkey asks or responded with liquidity for the DeFi system, and that's a good question. I think we're going to because we have some. I guess this answer would be too fluid to give you something definitive right now, and we'd rather address that in the tokenomics and detailed white paper that's forthcoming at a later date. But it's a good question. It's definitely something that we're thinking about because obviously liquidity, as we've seen and we all know, it's the lifeblood of any of these ecosystems or any product really that's built. So it's definitely something that we're uh, taking into great consideration. So
Yeah. So
basically, so
yeah.
so I'm not sure um, who this person's name is. I'm gonna say Zero because it looks like some Chinese cuneiform there, but asks basically this is not with a wrap. It's not wrapped, but kind of a custody wallet. And David, maybe you want to talk about that for a
It's
second.
just, look, it's both, to be honest. So Polkadot is wrapping coins, and they're also developing a way to do native node control to generate transactions directly. So it's a mixture of the two, and that's just the Polkadot. To kind of lean on what Star Trekker asks a couple questions down. It is Polkadot system does allow us access to everything they do, and they do control that. But we are not on Substrate forced to only work with Polkadot, right? So as I was explaining earlier, there may be dozens of relay chains that we want to interact with, and those relay chains may have competing wraps or methods for controlling those other assets, right? So we get to pick and choose the best for each, and we could even do all of them at the same time. There could be a future where you could hold, one Bitcoin and it be in four different wrapped relay, options. But if you wanted to send it to a contract for a stake or whatever, it would still operate normally, the transaction itself, like a normal Bitcoin transaction.
Right. I think it's somewhat of a difficult concept sometimes to understand, like the practicality of a lot of these frameworks and stuff. But like we talk about in the light paper, interoperability between chains is the future of crypto. It really is, because people need to be able to move their assets, the value of their assets in between these chains with as little friction as possible. And that's really what this framework with Substrate and Polkadot allows us to do, is transfer value between chains with as little friction as possible. And then we're going to build products that support that functionality in eons, which again we talk about a little bit in our light paper, which is our forthcoming, licensed financial services app that has a lot of. I don't want to talk too much about it till it's ready to showcase, but it's trying. We're trying to bring DeFi and the value proposition of DeFi to the retail market, because as we all know, there's quite a learning curve for a lot of these products. Retail customers who might interact with, like, say, Coinbase at the height of their interaction with crypto, right? They're not going to have a lot of exposure to this stuff, and we want to take these products, make them as safe as possible, bring them into our ecosystem where we can, and then offer them in our own product to people. That brings a lot of value to the ALQO chain, the ALQO ecosystem, and then as well, I know someone asked here, what's going to be BF Group's role going forward as additional funding and consideration. So I'll touch a little bit about this on this just for a second, because I know we have probably some BF Group members in the chat as well. All products that we develop, right? There'll be a differentiation between, are they capable of being brought into a licensed and regulated app, right? Where that has its own kind of requirements for a business as far as regulatory compliance is concerned. Or is it going to be a DeFi product only, where you just need to have your wallet, you can interact with the pool or the AMM or whatever, or the index? And I'm going to have David talk about our first product coming out um, on the new ALQO chain, which is an index. But interacting with those in a way that you don't have to do any KYC or AML. You have your wallet, you interact with the contract, and you're off into DeFi land. So for big BF Group, big fintech group that are the first round fund that invested in Bitfinian, contracts that we develop that serve the Eons app specifically, and also like the Bitfinian exchange, those will benefit the BF Group, and then any other round investor that we bring into as a shareholder into the big fintech and Bitfinian Limited Partnership. So I hope that answers that question. I'm not going to go too much into detail, because some of that stuff is completely independent of what ALQO is doing and what we're doing here with the DFS ecosystem. So Mark asks, how are existing ALQO masternode owners / stakers going to earn income on this whizzy new chain? David, I'm gonna let you take this one, because yeah, it's your area.
Yeah, so we haven't finalized the token economics yet, but we absolutely intend to have nodes and staking as kind of like we have now. The process will be a little bit different. It's nominators and validators instead of master nodes, and then the staking is just something that we're building in. We're trying to make that a lot easier than it is now, to be honest. So it will be the same, right? The way you go about launching your nodes will be a little different, but the basic principle will be identical.
Right, and it's important to note that, excuse me, even though the name is changing, right, and we're changing frameworks. When I say name, I mean we're moving from like the naming scheme of master nodes or whatever. There's still a network, and people still have to participate and secure the network. And those people that take an active role will earn rewards in the form of the ALQO token, just as they do now with earning ALQO coins for hosting a masternode. There will be slightly, well, I won't go down that route, because
Yeah,
because
we
I don't
haven't
want to get,
finalized it.
yeah, I don't want to go down that route just yet. But um, again, Zero asks, that's that's a big ambition to interact with so many chains. I know ALQO team Always work as geeker. I love that, but still think it is too big of a goal to achieve. So
Oh,
what is the
actually,
role?
so yeah, so the big part about this is we are taking the onus off of ourselves, right? Polkadot is doing the work of the interoperability, and they're not the only ones, right? Xchain is another big one. There's three more that I'm looking at considering for at launch integration as well. So it's like we are relying on the network, which is what makes Substrate so powerful to do the hard, heavy lifting for us, right? Our focus is the products. So we do the integration, we set up the infrastructure for custody, and then once that's done, which is not really us for us to build, right? We just got to set it all up. Once that's done, we can focus on providing access to products, existing products, and building our own.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think what Zero's asking is, and maybe they're aware of like the palette system, right? The palette development system or framework for Polkadot and Substrate, right? We're not going to be building those palettes ourselves, at least initially. We're going to use readily available ones on the market. Like I know you said that we recently read, like there was an Ethereum bridge that was built, right? So we'd be looking to integrate those into our chain and growing with the Substrate and Polkadot ecosystem. And then if we get to a point where we have the resources to actually build bridges ourselves, and that's something that makes sense for the products that we're building, then we would look to do that. I think that sums that up pretty nicely.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, okay, great. He says he understands.
How
Let's
about Dean's
see.
List? Other platforms? When you say other platforms, like, I mean, not really. Like, we're not shopping for giant exchanges. Like, I don't want to get listed on Binance or whatever. But I do want, as the use cases for Alka grows and the demands for it grows, I do want people to have access to it on other chain networks, right? So maybe a wrap version on Ethereum or EOS or one of the other ones that we choose, so that the people that love that network and want to stay in that network can still play in our pool as well.
Yeah, and I'll even go a step further than that to the Dean's List question. I mean, David's answer is half in my mind, kind of what we'll be looking to do. I think as the legitimacy of this new ecosystem grows and users come into it and there's a lot of value to be seen, we won't have to worry about centralized exchanges or whomever, other DEX exchanges or whatever, wanting to list the token. DEXs are just going to see the value and they're going to list it. You know, a centralized exchange might reach out and say, blah, 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 their typical spiel. And then if we find value there, if there's a listing fee, which I think is kind of an archaic way of thinking of listing an asset, if you see value in it as a centralized exchange operator, you should just list it. And so we won't be courting exchanges now. If like, again, if Binance or KuCoin or someone like that were to reach out when we're valuable enough to them, we would just say, hey, list us, and we would help them with whatever due diligence they would need to make that a listing. And I think the great thing about what we're doing with this pivot here is that we're no longer focused on trying to control the liquidity within Bitfinian only, right? Because we want the share pool to be the main value prop for the chain or for the ALQO coin token. These products will bring so much value if they're successful and so much liquidity if they're again successful that it makes sense for us to branch out and have the token on multiple exchanges, right? The way things were kind of posited before from the light paper in 2018 is such that we needed to kind of centralize the liquidity uh, a little bit more than what this ecosystem pivot allows us to is going to allow us to do. So I'll move on. Felix asks, why is the price for so many years this low? And I'm paraphrasing. When the coin is so incredible or credible, I'm not entirely sure. And I think it's just a matter of market perception. We have some work to do on communicating better what we're doing. And I think for us, what that's going to entail is uh, more a focus on product development, getting it to the market, and getting it into people's hands, and then communicating less from a point of this is what we're going to do to a point of hey, this is what we have, and that will make our marketing processes much easier, and our goals much easier to accomplish. Having said that, we are actively building a marketing team and looking for a new marketing director to lead uh, future marketing. So, and I've been speaking with quite a few people in that regard. We're trying to find an absolute rock star to help us move forward. So I hope that answers your question, Felix. Um, SJM asks, if I remember well, ALQO received $1 million as funding. Is there sufficient funding with an ambitious roadmap presented in the light paper? So we did receive 1 million euro. That was not ALQO, that was Bitfini Unlimited. Bitfini Unlimited was or is the company responsible for developing the Bitfinian exchange, and we're also uh, building on top of the ALQO chain many of these products that we posit in the light paper. Some, again, will be DeFi or open finance, readily available to anyone with a wallet, no KYC, no AML, and then the ones that will be focused on the Bitfinian exchange integration, and the Eons app integration, again, which Eons is a licensed and regulated financial services app, that will be a Bitfini Unlimited product. And will will we have enough money to do an ambitious roadmap presented in the light paper? Yes, I think that the funds we have allocated that are independent of the funding we received for Bitfini Unlimited will be plenty to realize the migration to the new chain, building that chain, migrating to it, and building the first one or two products for the ALQO DFS ecosystem so that we can start to uh, move in that direction. Star Tracker asks, is marketing um, on the horizon? Bitfinian works well, not promote it further. It could promote ALQO too.
It's just tough to do it without the liquidity solved first. It's two sides of a coin. We can advertise it all we want, but if it's not attractive to
Well, I
trade
think
on, it's
I mean, I think it's a more dynamic kind of question than why not promote Bitfinian. There's 1,500 plus centralized exchanges. It took us a little bit over a year since funding to get the exchange launched, and frankly, right, in a year of crypto time, that's maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years. Who knows? Who can quantify it, right? In real world time, this industry is just moving so quickly that things that um, you know, I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole. I kind of want to make sure the AMA stays focused on things. I think that there is more value in what we're doing to bring liquidity into ALQO, which will feed into Bitfinian with the DFS ecosystem pivot, than if we continue down just trying to build a centralized exchange user base and uh, liquidity. It's kind of like the top-down approach, whereas with the DFS approach, it's kind of the bottom-up approach, which I think is healthier and will allow us to build a greater user base, and in turn more liquidity. Which all of this again benefits Bitfinian the exchange. Bitfinian the exchange is staying; it's not going anywhere. It's just that we have a hurdle to get to the next step, which is we need users and liquidity. And the main use case of ALQO in terms of Bitfinian was the share pool. So think of this pivot as just building additional use cases by presenting more products on a new framework, whereas the previous ALQO framework was limiting and we couldn't do these things. So I think it's just a more holistic approach to answering this question of why marketing. Well, it's not necessarily just marketing, it's liquidity, its users, and kind of a chicken and an egg scenario where if you can get liquidity, you'll get users, right? And if you can get users, you'll get liquidity. And we think that this approach with the products in the new DFS roadmap will do that more efficiently than just throwing a bunch of marketing dollars at an exchange and saying, hey, come trade here for whatever reason. We want to bring real utility to Bitfinian. And I think that the light paper showcases that much better than, again, marketing dollars thrown at the exchange. Um, let's go.
They're asking about the validators and the nodes,
All
like
right.
substrate one. Yeah, like
I don't.
substrate and third. Oh, you don't want to talk about it.
Well, I don't want to go too much down the technical thing because all of this information for Substrate and Polkadot is actually readily available. So I don't. If you're a member of our community, um, because I want to move on to some of the other questions that were actually
Yeah,
in the Discord.
I'll link
Yeah,
people.
let's link
Yeah.
people and we can answer more technical, like deep dive questions in chat where it can then be archived for anyone to search. Because we are moving up on 35 minutes here. Let's see. I'm gonna actually go back to the questions within the Discord. And do you plan to create a stablecoin or synthetic assets? Do you have any lending project planned? So, I mean, yes, we have a lending product plan. You can see it on my screen share here. It's actually the second product we posit in the light paper. Um, it's pretty straightforward. If you're familiar with like BlockFi or Celsius or one of those lending protocol or Aave, um, it's going to operate in a manner similar to those, but again with our own take on that product, how it can most benefit ALQO token holders and our ecosystem, not just a copycat product. Um, David, maybe you want to talk a little bit about creating a stablecoin or synthetics. I think stablecoins are pretty easy to do. If we did that, it would be something for a use case in the Eons app so that retail customers could have, an ALQO chain specific stablecoin that they could interact with. Um,
Yeah, I mean, you think you nailed it, right? So it's relatively easy to create a stable coin, right? So it's all about like securing the value and having the insurance and whatever. It's been done a few times before. The implementation isn't that difficult. The use case for it that's really nice though is people using it within our own network, right? If you want to send Alco dollar stablecoin to someone else on the same network, we control the fees, we control the network. It'll be the cheapest $1 you've ever sent, as long as it's in our network.
mhm.
So that drives more users, that drives adoptability for our specific products. So it's a nice drive and a great use case for Alco. So we'll definitely be doing it. Whether we'll do just one or multiples is yet to be determined.
Yeah, thanks for that, David. Moving down through, let's see the next one. So practical examples. Renan MH asks practical examples of how the loan borrow system will work at Bitfinian and when will it start? Um, so again, I guess I kind of already answered this with my last answer. Lending, the ALQO DFS ecosystem will have a lending product. We will port that into Bitfinian and into the Eons ecosystem or app rather, and you can think of it working in a way similar to what Aave, BlockFi, Celsius, again with our own spin on things to make it um, unique to our product offering. We don't want to just bring copycat products and say we're doing something similar, but we do want to offer similar products and services where they work, right? Lending, in my opinion, is going to be one of the biggest product verticals in crypto over the next 2 to 3 years, maybe longer. Um, and we want to capitalize on that for uh, Bitfinian limited shareholders and ALQO token holders, and so it will be a large area of focus for us. Um, when will it start? He asked right at the end. We haven't released any timetables for this stuff, but we're not talking in terms of years. We're talking in terms of months and in some cases weeks. Um, but we'll have more uh, timelines for the roadmap, I would say over the next like 30 days. How many specialists? So Long John asks, how many specialists are working on the creation of a new ALQO blockchain? Is it one person or a team? When will the remaining funds from the Liberio fund be burned? David, I'm gonna let you take both these questions.
Yeah, all right. So as far as the people working on it, I mean, obviously we're building within someone else's infrastructure. So it's like when I use whatever a JavaScript library, I don't say I wrote the library, right? I'm just using it. Well, that's the case with Substrate. I'm using their product essentially, all of their code, and assembling it in our own way. Right now, I'm doing the assembly with the assistance of two other developers. We also have wallet specialist. Derek's with us. He actually did the participated in part of the facelift for 6.5. He's a great developer. He's worked with us for a while now, so he's going to be working on the wallet along with a few other people, and designers and stuff like that. And honestly, the bigger part of this isn't the assembly of the chain, right? It's the front end stuff, the apps and the integrations, and writing all the APIs for the interconnections for all the different stuff that we've got going on together. So that's the way bigger project. Um, because we have this base to begin from Parity Tech, where they've built all this stuff for us. Um, as far as the second one, the Liberio, let me be live answer. I am waiting on two people that have not finished their KYC, and they've been approved. I only rejected 5 people. This took me a ton of time. I had to host my own nodes so that the chain was moving, so I could rescan the blocks and it not fail, and like for every single one. And we got through it. It's done, and we're just waiting on the last few people so that we can do the last payout and have Jared do the burn.
Yeah, as soon as we get, and guys, if you check your emails, right? Check your support tickets if you're one of those two remaining people. We need to get this stuff done. We need to get to the market that we made ALQO affected ALQO holders whole. It's, in my opinion, one of the most important things so that people can, um, have faith in David and myself and the new team. That being part of our community is, you know, people who were affected before have been made whole. And the only way we can do that, because I'm not going to burn coins until we get these last two people done. But you gotta jump into your email and your support ticket. If you have pending stuff, please get it done ASAP so that we can finalize this once and for all and get the last 8 or 9 disbursements. And I think at the total amount that we will have ended up compensating was around 4.3 and a half million total coins, correct?
Yeah, something like that. I don't have that one big guy in there on that math right now.
Okay.
But
So
yeah, yeah.
there'll be about 500,000 ALCO coins from that refund fund that will get burned. And as soon as we take care of those last two people and we get the payout sent, I will burn the coins within 24 hours and post that on social media and in the Discord so everyone can see. All right. So that looks like most of the questions from from
Discord.
Discord. Yes, thank you. And let me look at the chat here.
Yeah, Gary, we're not doing price speculation in this. I mean, obviously, the higher the better, but yeah, not here, not now.
Yeah, I think it's everybody wants a price target. I want a price target. I mean, right? Everyone who is involved in the community, and David and myself, and our investors, everyone has Alco coins tokens because we all believe in what we're doing, and obviously the goal is to build as much value, and hopefully that value translates into an increased token price. I don't want to make any predictions because I don't know. I'm a horrible trader, and I think that token price in many cases correlates to the true value of the ecosystem you're building, and we have a really great new pivot that we're focused on that brings
Evolution.
evolution pivot. I know people people want to call it one. I think it's both one and the same, right? Pivot, evolution, whatever. But we have a really great uh, evolution for Alco that brings a lot more value to the ecosystem than what was previously uh, written about in the first white paper, right? This is a this is a lot I don't know how you would quantify it. I guess you could go and you could look at the top lending protocol and say, okay, they have 1.5 billion under management in their contracts. You could look at some of the top performing index prices. You could look at some of the top of the AMMs and pools and maybe quantify some kind of projected token price if you got 3 or 5 or 10% of their total AUM and what their token, you know, value translates to that. But I'm not going to do that because I have no idea. I just think if we build a lot of value, the value in the token price will appear. Gary, I hope so. Prediction of more than 200 sets. Yeah, I think we can get much higher than that. But I have no idea. I hope so. Let's see. I want to go back up here because someone asked something. Or Zero asked, the liquidity is not the liquidity is not about bringing only function. ALQO needs more voices to let the market know its ambition, its tech roadmap. It needs content creation, larger AMAs, and regional AMAs work well. I agree with you, and those are all things that we definitely aim to take part in. I think what's important for us now is that we build the right team to communicate what David and I are building on the tech end of things, because we went down a path of not having um, the right I don't want to we didn't do it as optimally as possible at the beginning of the year, and we want to correct that and have the right people on the team to communicate to the market um, most effectively. So I agree with you 100%, and we are searching out the personnel to get to that point. I think big AMAs with some reputable crypto Twitter personalities always serves us well. Regional AMAs, I definitely want to, once the COVID pandemic thing tapers down a little bit more and crypto blockchain, uh, um, what's the word I'm looking for, David?
Conventions?
Yes, thank you. Conventions start back up. We can start taking part in those and showcasing what we're doing because if you were around in January, remember that myself and JC and Ryan, the two of the managing partners from Big FinTech, actually went to the blockchain convention in Miami and spoke with quite a few vendors and other businesses. And I think that networking is invaluable to get what you're doing out to the market and have it trickle down to you know to anyone who might be interested.
Yeah, and as far as like, Jared and I talked about this recently. It's part of the reason we're doing this AMA is because we know you guys want inside our brain a little bit to see where we're going, why we're going in that direction, and how it's all kind of coming together. So expect our dev updates to start again once our development cycle really gets going. Expect us to offer something like this, every few weeks. And then I'm always available in Discord. I haven't really been spending a ton of time on there, but if you've got tech questions, you want to know, hey, I'm concerned or I just am interested in how this works, link me. I'd be happy to provide that information. Um, I'm a Discord guy, but you can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever. I think it's all posted on ALQO app. I'm a pretty accessible guy. Don't bury me with stuff, but if you want to know why we're doing this and how it's doing from a technical perspective, I'm the guy to reach out to.
Yeah, thanks for letting them know that. I think it's also important to. I know we talked about for the AMA started that a lot of people who have been in the community, they know who you are. You're one of the second, you're either the first or second mining pool operator to actually mine ALQO. You have a long history in crypto. Uh, you hold a couple of degrees in computer sciences and development. And I think maybe it'd be good, maybe we should have done this at the beginning of the AMA to let people know what your experience is and that they can be confident in you as a lead developer heading the ALQO blockchain development. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about your history, and then we can maybe wrap the AMA up if no one has any more questions.
All right. So, me in the short form, I started coding when I got my first computer when I was like 9. It was a 486. I made Telnet, like Dungeons and Dragons games called MUDs. That was in C++. I made video games all throughout college. That's actually what I went to college for. I got a bachelor's in digital entertainment and game design. I also have another degree in visual communications, both highly technical, code based, development based kind of degrees, with a little bit of design. It's not really my forte, but I know enough about it to support designers, which was my goal. Uh, when Bitcoin came out, I CPU mined it. I heard about it early. I thought, oh, that's cool. I was an early converter. So I went to businesses. This is when Bitcoin's 2 and 3 years old, and I would say, "Hey, why don't you accept Bitcoin?" I actually bought a car from a car lot by doing that. I joke it's now my $50,000 car because when I bought it, the price of Bitcoin was like $130. But it was all about ecosystem for me. I'm a bit of an idealist when it comes to the purpose of crypto and why its existence is so important, and why I want to be part of the team, the worldwide team that is on the helm of controlling the crypto space. Right, it adds a lot of value to our world, is my belief. So, as far as the other crypto stuff that I've done, I've ran pools, I've run nodes since they existed. I was a huge hardware nerd. Hundreds of GPUs, hundreds of ASICs. I've got a ASIC museum for a bit, SAS 256 miners, everything you can imagine, all the way back, USB miners, everything. So it's like I'm really in tune with the mining perspective, why we mine, what it does for the network, what those people, what we like want from this industry. So what kind of products may suit them. From that perspective, I'm pretty solid. I've been contributing to blockchains for the last 2 years on the code side. Um, couple private repositories. I've done some ALQO stuff. I've also done crypto tech support forever. I mean, there are people in this group right now that I've provided tech support for 3 years. So it's like, I've always been the, provide the easy answer, quick responsive, and I've proven, already my dedication to this product. I'm a huge holder. I mined a ton of them. I kept them all. I'm still holding them, with the expectation that I'm going to help take this to the next level. Uh, and this first phase that we're talking about, this light paper, this is phase one, right? This is all infrastructure stuff. We may launch one or two products when we first come out, but this is about preparation, and that's the way that I'm viewing it. That my whole goal is to build a foundation that we can build anything we want on top of, and not just us either, right? If we see something good, if we see somebody else that's doing good and we want to invite them to build on our network, or we want to provide access to them from our network, we have that opportunity with this direction. Jared and I have been working on substrate, for months. Basically, once I came on the project, we were trying to figure out, okay, how do we achieve our goals of custody and smart contracts and product availability. And it was a big tug of war. We talked about Ethereum a lot. We talked about just being a token and just writing contracts. And in the end, we want to do more. And having a power chain of our own and being able to build our everything ourselves, that we want to, while at the same time not excluding existing products, it's such a bright future, man. The value to that I see is huge. It completely dwarfs what we had initially written, or what the team had originally written in the first white paper. That seems like nothing compared to the ecosystem foundationally that we're building
Well,
now.
yeah, and I mean that's at first. Thanks for sharing about your past experience, David. I can tell everyone from working with David since well January really this year, like 10, 12 hours a day for months on end, that he has the technical ability uh, to execute everything in this roadmap, and where we will need help, we have the resources readily available. It's important to note that initially the this pivot would not have been possible with the original ALQO light paper, with the tech that we have now, the chain. This evolution,
Haha.
yeah, allows us to, like David said, do more, bring more value. And again, for me, what this is about, it's not so much about building the tech, it's just a means to an end. The end is that we bring value, liquidity, we bring retail friendly user experiences in our products, and we build the value proposition of ALQO, its ecosystem, for all of its participants, and we bring more people into crypto. And by doing that, by being one of those projects that actually makes this tech easier to use for the end user and brings value to them and their life, to their financial lives, we get rewarded by them becoming, an ecosystem user, an adopter of our tech. Um, and to me, that's what my goal is, and the technology is a means to an end. And I think we have an amazing tech stack now to do that with Substrate and Polkadot, which we didn't have before. And frankly, we had been talking about it for months, maybe building it ourselves, which, you know, that in my opinion was too ambitious. I think we have a really clear roadmap now and a solid foundation with their frameworks, with the Substrate and Polkadot frameworks, to make this a reality. So if anyone has any other questions, let's see. Uh, Skinnis, we actually talked about this earlier in the AMA. So if you don't want to watch the whole AMA, would you mind dropping in the Discord and just asking your question, and Dave would be happy to answer it. If no one has any other questions, I'll wait a minute to see if anyone else wants to ask anything. Maybe we missed something, and then we'll wrap it up. So if anyone has a question, feel free to drop it.
Bueller.
Feel free to drop it in the YouTube chat right now.
All right, well, that was fun. Thanks for coming to listen, the 30 of you that decided to come listen.
Yeah, I think we actually had a pretty decent turnout. I think we peaked around like 40, 45 people involved. Um, we are in the middle of the day here in the US. I know it's going on about 8 p.m. in European time zones. And let me just check the Discord chat one last time. Okay. Guys, thanks to everyone who joined us. If you're going to watch back this AMA and you have any other questions that we didn't cover, again, please join our Discord community. We're much more active there than we are in Telegram. Um, we are looking for community team members. We have two great community managers, Dylan and Tomas. So if you want to help contribute to the growth of the ALQO team, please reach out to myself or one of them, and we'll be happy to discuss things with you. But guys, David, if you don't have anything to contribute, I guess we're finished.
Nothing to contribute. No. This is great. Let's do this again, right? Let's try. We're gonna try and tell you guys a little bit more of what's going on, either through forums like this, or just like dev updates, or just being really active in our chat stuff. So, bounce it back to us. I know you guys want to hear stuff, so ask us questions. Participate, and that will help us grow with that.
Awesome. David, thanks. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and talk to everyone soon.
Ciao.